The meeting is called to order. We do have a quorum. The first item is approval of the November 7th regular meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Carolyn moves to approve the minutes and Russ seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstaining? No. That motion carries. Approval of the November 9th special meeting minutes. These have all been circulated.
Which was the one we just approved?
The regular meeting.
The November 7th.
The regular meeting, okay.
So that was Carolyn and then Russ.
Yep.
Is there a motion on the special meeting minutes of the 9th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. And approval of the November 18th special meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
Oh, let's
swap it up.
Hi, Dan.
We're just starting, Deb. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those are 4 votes on
Yep.
each of them.
Okay.
Deb has arrived. Communications. Martha, any communications?
Yes, we got a nice email from Kelly Ackford. She's a youth services librarian, and she has been teaching a beginner's historic research and preservation class, and they use some of the links on our website.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Help them out. And they also sent us a new link that we can put up there. So when we update our webpage, we'll have a link for house research.
Oh, great.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. How nice for them to write about that.
Okay.
I had a communication I don't think we really fully discussed, and that was from Margaret Mandel. Did we discuss that last time? Not really. I talked about it with Deanie. And she lives, I don't know the number, but north of the Nightingale Cafe, and she's concerned about the clutter around that adjoins her property, and she sent me a photograph of a fence portion that is now leaning, old detached portion of an old fence that's leaning against their new fence, and she doesn't know what to do about it. She doesn't know whether to talk to the Nightingale people or the owners of the building who came in to us to ask for approval for their new windows. And she was writing to me just as a person in Old Lyme, not as a commission member specifically, but I did want to, do whatever we can to help her, because we're concerned about that unsightliness also.
One of the items under new and ongoing business is to develop a list of enforcement concerns.
Okay.
And maybe we can take it up in conjunction with
Good.
that.
I may not be here, but
Right.
Okay.
That's a great suggestion to add that to our list of, yeah.
Open forum. You're welcome to make comments. Okay. No participation on that. And the secretary's report. Martha.
Yes, we got a communication from the town hall about about updating the web page. The town's website is going to go through a complete upgrade, and they asked us for our what we would like to update. They sent us the email on the 21st, and they wanted to know by the 23rd. So there's not really enough time, but I'm sure that we can tell them this month. They're not going to be doing it until, I think, February, so.
Okay. That's
We should be thinking
important, right.
So the question is how we want to redesign it?
Well, what information is on there that might be outdated that we would like to update and change? Then we
I mean, we've been doing that. I sent you the
Yeah,
the revised guidelines to post, so.
right. We'll be posting those. They are offering some staff training on how to update the website. So I'm going to see if I can do that. Depends on how they handle the updates. If they use a special program and you have to use a town hall computer, whatever, I'll find out about that. It would be really nice if I could get in there and do the updates.
Yes.
And we'll have the new COFA forms. We'll have the new certificate of appropriateness form to link, yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we get everything.
Transfer.
They suggested removing the information on the Connecticut Preservation Awards, which is from 2010, and they want everybody, I think, to remove town ordinances from their webpage. I guess so they can have it all in one place. I'm not sure why, but we'll have some info.
Okay.
The calendar, we will be paying our donation to support the calendar from the and I sent an email to
They all have.
Jim Meehan and Mark Terwilliger asking if we could please see the pictures before they publish the next one.
Right.
Because, you know, the commission would like to know what that is. And then we have our usual list of C of A's and projects, ongoing projects in the district.
Are there any, maybe just highlight the changes from last list?
The Congregational Church roof has been finished.
This looks good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's very nice. And we're down to 13 from 17.
Chipping away.
Just wait a couple meetings. The way things have been going.
It's good. Some projects just haven't been started, like the 97 Lime Street. You know, they want to do their garden shed in the back. You know,
Yeah, Pamela's close to finishing.
I thought she must be.
It looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that this upcoming year will be a little bit quieter, because I think in the past fiscal year we had something like 31 certificates of appropriateness that we had to consider. That's a lot. That's twice what we usually
Twice normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things seem to be slowing down a little bit. We're still monitoring some sign issues at the Florence Griswold Museum and throughout the district. That's an ongoing issue. I don't have an update on any of the plaques. And that's it, basically.
And there's a like for like, I know, for 107 Lime Street.
Yeah.
For the roof. It came in, right?
Yes. We did get a communication from 107 Lime Street, Colin Mahoney, who said they had tried to get a permit to do their roof, which is a like for like, and they were denied the permit. So in some way...
The permit from zoning.
Yeah.
Because we had...
Right.
Yeah, so we had neglected to close the loop on that like for like, so that brings back to our attention that whenever we get a like for like, we decide that it is like for like, we let them know.
We let land use know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that they know it's fine. So in one way, for us, it's nice that they're
Mm-hmm.
paying attention when somebody wants to pull a permit to do something in the historic district. It's too bad that it was a legitimate like-for-like that was denied, but we've since taken care of that, so they should be able to get the permit now. The only other thing I have is that Jim Graybill, who's on the agenda for 10 Lime Street, the Village Shop Stonework, he will not be able to attend the meeting today. But he did send me some more information about the project. And he has sent us pictures and everything else, so. And that's all.
Okay, great, thank you. Co-chairs report? Deanie?
I can start. My only is to go back to the like-for-like. I have 3 here. One of them is the one we've just been discussing, the Mahoney and Sudano. So I think we just had a little bit of a lapse of process. So that's been taken care of. There's another one here that originally came like this. And I emailed them the form, and they came back with this, with a proper one. It's 81 Lime Street. And it's open gable roof, color to match house, asphalt shingles, description of the proposed roof, bindery, first outbuilding closest to the house. And it's like for like.
Color to match.
Asphalt shingles will be utilized in like and kind currently in place. It is my intent that the builder, Thomas Garbati Builders, LLC, will match the color of the main house. The entire roof will be replaced. There are no plans to replace under layer unless rotted.
Which is the one that's here?
Which is 81.
That's the Miller House was directly across from the Academy.
From what?
Directly across from the Academy.
So the house that's set back from the street with the wood siding?
The yellow, I think it is.
It's wood siding?
The old one, right along the entrance ramp?
Yes, right along the entrance.
So they're going to use yellow materials on the roof?
Well, I think the house is yellow now, or is it white? I can't
It's wood
remember.
siding.
It sounds like to me they're matching the shingles that's on the house
Right, because there's
on a barn
there's
structure.
a book depository or whatever it
Is it like for like if they're changing the material or color of material? I mean, we can't do anything if they're painting it, but presumably
No, he's
material itself.
Yeah, Dina, can you read it again?
Standard asphalt shingles.
Is it yellow or white? I can't remember. I buy it all the time.
the one that's set,
I don't
no,
know
the Clabbert house, the pretty
fence.
one that's set
Yeah,
back with
set
the
back.
fence that's right along the entrance ramp.
Maybe,
Adjacent to the I-95.
maybe Martha could clarify.
The old-
I just know it's the Millers.
You know that the Millers live, you know that's their house, yes. That house, the last one on the,
Yes,
right
I know,
before
that's
you,
81.
right before
Yes.
you enter 95.
Right.
Which is the house,
Okay.
yeah.
I
So-
guess my question is it like for like, suppose they had black asphalt shingles and they want to change to
Hands.
tan,
So shall we,
then it's not like for like. They're using different materials.
It's the same material.
But color
But
on
the-
shingles, we have a
Yes, we don't have authority over paint
paint.
color.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just, if it's I can't picture the house, but if it's a light color house and they want a light color roof, we might want to
Deanie, what was can you read his letter again, or his paragraph saying exactly what he was?
Please accept this request for a certificate of appropriateness to replace the leaking roof on the outbuilding known as Book Foundry.
Boundary.
Yeah, standard asphalt shingles will be utilized, one of a kind currently in place. It is my intent that the builder, Thomas Garbati Builders, will match the color of the main house, meaning the roof of the main house.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So,
I mean, I'm sure that's what he means.
Yeah.
The roof of the main house. The entire roof covering will be replaced. There are no plans to replace the underlayer.
okay, so it's the roof on the book
On the book
bindery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is that little back building, and we see the
That's
side
right.
of
He's
it.
matching the main house in terms of color and
Yeah.
shingle.
Yeah.
So I think you just want to clarify that he means that color style will be identical to the shingles on the main house. And if so, we would approve, but don't we want to clarify?
So that's technically not, in my opinion, that's technically not a like for like.
I agree.
It's a C of A, and we should vote on whether or not the matching shingle color to the house is appropriate.
I mean, it's not a like for like if they're changing the existing color that's on the
Existing structure.
Boundary.
book bindery.
Right.
Okay.
So what do we do then?
Do we want Martha to write to him?
Call
Do we
them.
call him? Is there a phone number?
He says C of A there in his letter, his intent is C of A.
Well, I
Then he
don't
filled,
think
then he filled out the like for
Oh.
like. I sent him both forms.
Yeah.
Tell him we need a completely filled out C of A. Do we want a sample of the material, or do we not need that?
Asphalt, you know.
I mean, something that shows it, I would say. I don't know that we need a sample. It says standard asphalt, but a picture of the color or a brochure that shows it.
Shall I call him? And do we want him to, we want him to fill out the other form?
If the color is being changed from what's there
Okay.
now, I would say.
It's more of a process kind of thing. I hate to slow him down, but it is.
No, one could envision somebody else
Yeah.
saying, oh, same material and the color is
For pink.
pink.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, and the third one is,
Yeah, hi.
I'm Mel Twining. Hi. Claudia, we all know, is probably not likely to get here. Alicia's kids are sick, and so is she. And she asked me to get drawings from her office. If they're elevations, but there's no three-dimensional from the front, I can run back and look through our stack of drawings if you want to see that. Or I can just forget that, because it looks like you don't have so many people here.
yeah, it's for Roger
You might
Torrey
take it
Peterson.
sooner than 10.
For Roger Torrey.
Yeah, probably
They're on for 10.
You're on for 10. I don't think we'll get to it
Oh,
before,
okay, I thought
before
those were
10.
people here that I
Yeah, no,
wondered we might go early.
you're on for 10.
I'll be
Okay.
back. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to see him. Thank you.
Okay, and the third like for like was the little red building on, down the street that is now a sort of architecture studio, three different, and they just, they kept the same frame sign.
I see.
They kept the same, they just repainted it with their information, so
That's fine.
like for like.
Oh, great. Are they in that whole building, or is it just
The downstairs,
the half versus the whole lower
the
level?
whole lower level.
Okay, nice.
There's three of them that are sharing it.
Great.
Is that architectural design?
Well, there's three different architects. They're sort of using it as they're just sharing the rent.
And
Oh, great.
arsenic.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
good.
very nice.
One is Nina Peck, who
Mhm.
had her own, and then the other one, the one I talked to about it was, used to work at Penniman Architects in Essex, and I'm not sure who the third one is. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Have those two buildings used well, appropriately.
Yeah.
So, do we need to say something upstairs about this, Martha, do you think?
I think it's
a good idea. Whenever we get a like for like. if
Just say we've approved it.
Like, just,
Okay,
no.
Yep.
We just say we've confirmed that it's a like for like.
okay. So the, right. Okay, I'll do that. That concludes my piece of the co-chair's report.
Hey, my piece is short, just two announcements. The agenda item for 21 Lime Street discussion, Sagristano, his request is being postponed, so we will not take that up today. The other thing is that Deanie and I on Friday, midday, met with, oh dear, help me with the name.
Michael Duffy,
Michael Duffy, the head of LACFA.
Board of Trustees. He's the chair of the Board of Trustees.
sorry.
Yeah. And Dave Kelsey.
And Dave Kelsey. And we had a good discussion, but the upshot of it was that LACFA is going to discuss alternative ways that they might achieve their objectives, discuss those with Eric Knapp. So we don't really have any specific changes in our situation to report, but that's in the works, and I guess we will hear more before the next meeting. Next item is the public hearing for 10 Lime Street. Jim, are you on the phone? No. Maybe we could flip and deal with the Griswold Point issue now, just to ensure that there's time. I did look through it quickly, and it seems as though many, I don't know if all, but many of Carolyn's good suggestions have been incorporated in that.
They've really done a lot of work on it. There's still some inconsistencies. They're still tied to the traditional lore that the Griswold family has believed in for at least a century, and they can't quite get away from it. So they did say, for example, that it is long in the family tradition that Matthew Griswold I was the agent of George Fenwick, but there is nothing that documents that for certain. So they say, so they're still keeping it alive instead of saying he never was. So, there are small things like that they can't quite let go of, but that's okay. And then there's another inconsistency I noticed just quickly, that in the summary they say Matthew Griswold settled there in the 1640s, but in the text they've updated it to say that he only just was on the committee to explore the land in 1648. So there was nobody living on Griswold Point or settling there that early. So there are small inconsistencies that actually, for people who look to that report for the history, the summary matters. So I'd like to point out a few changes that still need to be made, but my recommendation is that we go ahead and approve the nomination, accepting their request that we approve the nomination for National Register Victoria Historic Places nomination. I think we should approve it, and Martha, when she sends our approval, will attach a sheet that recommends a few more changes. But basically, they've done a lot of work on it, and I think it's worthy of approval.
Well, and they've done a lot of work thanks to what you've communicated.
History, yeah.
I second. Is that a motion or?
No, that's a report.
It's a report. I didn't. Oh, okay.
It's a recommendation that we go ahead and vote to approve. So then a motion.
We do need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Reading it.
Pardon me?
I enjoyed reading it.
Good.
Yeah.
I would like somebody to do a presentation of it, because I just
Yes,
think
it's
such a beautiful spot, and
It's beautiful, and it's so fascinating, and the history is layered.
and to me, it's a testament to a unique family stewardship,
exactly
of
preservation.
preservation of property history, And it's a beautiful thing, so.
It really is.
Yeah, and the work that, of course, that's speaking to the family and what they've done, but then the work to document that is also outstanding, so.
It's such an interesting situation when, in the Victorian period, as Nettie Pfeiffer said to me, the Victorians were not kind to history. They had this, wish to celebrate their ancestors and to aggrandize everything about the place they lived in. And that really took hold and has carried on. It's difficult now to go back and pull it apart and document what actually happened as opposed to what people imagined happened. So this is an interesting case study of that historiography, that sort of process of social history. But anyway, they've done a lot of work, and I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Very much.
I noticed they dealt with the issue of enslaved people, albeit in a footnote, but...
they basically kicked it down the road and said that's not the purpose of this report, so we won't be dealing with it.
Can an amendment to that be added at a later point in time? In other words, if that research is done, could that be added to the registry?
Somebody would have to pay for them to do that. I mean, their consultant is done. She's finished.
Right.
And I don't think, I'm wondering if the family would pay for her to come back and do another history, but...
I mean, there is a reflection of Carolyn's research in the report.
Right.
It's just not in the body of the text, but it's there for anyone to see and follow up on.
And this year, the Witness Stones project is hopefully going to document the enslaved people in Black Hall, which is basically Griswold Point. And so I won't need anything from you all, but just out of interest, so I'll be documenting that history of the enslavement in that area of the town as closely as I can later on. So whether I could send it to them, once I've done it, whether they would add anything or not, I don't know.
Okay. All right. So there's a motion on the table to approve with the list of suggestions, and that's been seconded? Yes. Who seconded? Deb seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Great. So let's turn to the Village Shop Stonework C of A application. Martha has circulated that with pictures, and Martha, you said you got some additional information?
Yeah.
Does everyone see the pictures? I have copies.
I don't understand the raised beds. I thought the first two photographs I understood, it shows the location of where they want to do stuff. But what is that gray painted frame? I wasn't clear.
That's where he's storing the stones.
I do have some extra, some photos.
But they're painted. Next page.
Is that going to be recessed into the ground?
And is it going to be cement or is it going to be brick?
The frame will be about an inch above
I haven't seen
ground
that.
level.
Wait, I'm sorry, Martha, go ahead.
Yes,
Again.
this frame will be sunken into the ground and protrude about an inch above the ground. It's just a frame to contain...
It's a border. Think of it as a border.
For the stones.
And then the benches will be on top of the stones. It's to make the mowing easier and neater. And
Well, you see that there's dirt. So
Yeah.
people sit on the bench, it looks like. Now, did we approve these benches?
Yes, a long time ago.
Long time ago.
That was with Murgy's when they bought it.
Okay, so it appears to me that there's dirt when people sit on the bench.
Yes.
And so it looks like what Jim is trying to do is to put a stone underneath the bench
Right.
so that you don't have to mow it and it protects the ground. And it looks like that he's planning to put a border around the stone.
right.
So my question, had an exact same problem. Benches in the garden, big problem every time it had to be mowed. Teak furniture all has to be moved, blah, blah, blah. Put a little blue stone, just some blue stones in there so they don't have to be moved. But they just go away. I mean, they just go away because they're completely flush with the lawn and, you don't see them. I just question this idea of the frame.
too.
Why we need why he needs the frame, as opposed to just setting the stones into the,
ground.
I mean, what do you think?
Well, what the frame probably does is it keeps the grass from growing into the stone, but almost like a metal, I mean, he could do a metal edge like you see on driveways. It seems to me that would be the only reason why he would do this.
But I don't have, it's not a problem. I mean, I'm just saying, for me, it's not a
I'm
problem.
not disagreeing with you.
Stones are
I
just
don't
very
understand why.
good, like this.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
But I think that visually, the protrusion of that gray wooden frame around it is not going to be attractive. It's going to call attention to the site of the
Yeah.
bench, so I would recommend against the frame. Either bluestone, or if you want to do those look like pavers.
That's a paver, not a stone.
I know.
It actually
to
looks
another
black
goal.
to me.
Or
Maybe very
black,
dark
Yeah,
gray.
I mean, I was looking at it on my computer screen.
I think it's loss of green space. I think it's loss of flexibility of moving benches and things around.
Yeah,
Just note, it looks like he's already done the work in constructing this, so.
so that's.
Not to say that we shouldn't, but,
We
yeah.
ask always before a project to consult us first, before the work.
I don't disagree.
Would there be a way, would it be terrible to ask him to do it without the frame?
No.
Well,
Would that change his project?
I guess I would like to hear why he wants the frame.
He may
In
not
other,
like it. I mean, he may
well,
like
he
the
may like
tidiness
it.
of it.
It also may be, I mean, his concern is with keeping it raised, that if he doesn't have something that holds the stones in place, that grass will grow up through them, and you still would then need to mow.
Mhm.
All the more reason to use bluestone in larger
Something that's
pieces.
flush.
He has
So
it.
that-
Right.
What?
He already has all this.
But that's his problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
He'll use it somewhere else, didn't he? You know?
Yeah.
We don't know if the,
Then we get into what is the paver? Is that-
if there's a paver, and is the paver just laid on the grass? Is it cement, or
Yeah.
did he comment on how the pavers are gonna be installed, Martha?
No, it's not natural looking.
No.
Mm-mm, not with the frame.
No.
And it's just more clutter on the lawn, and the lawn is already cluttered.
I mean, I
Exactly.
can't hear Martha, sorry.
Okay. Install 2 beds of pavers under 2 benches in front yard of the village shops. 1 3-foot by 8-foot and 1 3-foot by 6-foot. Help keep the grass down and keep it safer for kids that enjoy sitting on them. That's what he said.
Okay.
And the frame will protrude out 1 inch above the ground level. So there's not gonna be like a 4-inch frame.
Not unlike, and I think of that, again, like a driveway where you have a metal that stops the grass from growing onto the drive, and it usually is raised about 1 inch above that. But in this case, it's a 4x4.
Yeah. So what kind of wood is that?
Probably a treated,
Okay.
I would imagine. He's looks like he's staining it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a treated, like, 4x4, yeah.
From Lowe's,
Yeah,
looks like.
yes.
It's a
I
very.
think it says Lowe's right here.
How large is the bench? Because 8 feet is quite large.
This one was 8 feet.
Here are the 2 benches. One does appear to be slightly larger than the other. This is a longer bench.
May I suggest that we continue this hearing and invite Jim to come in, because I think there are some questions, and he needs, I think it may be appropriate to give him the opportunity to respond to concerns. He may have reasons for the border that we haven't thought about. In other words, I'm sort of reluctant to say, no, maybe he says, here's why I need a border. Yeah, I'll do a different sort of border, maybe a metal
Or maybe he would
edging.
consider bluestone.
Or
I mean,
maybe
he
that-
worked with us on the gate, you know, he's willing to work with us. Challenge.
But if you want to go ahead and do something else, the floor is open for motions, either to continue or to say no, or to say yes with conditions.
I'd like to go and take a look, actually. I mean, we've always found in the past that when we don't do a site visit, we regret it later. So how would it, in my mind's eye, it wouldn't look great, and it would interrupt the lawn surface.
You know, another,
It's not necessary. I mean, maybe it's more convenient, but it's not necessary.
And Carolyn, when I drove by this morning, I just, because I wanted to see exactly where is this going to go,
Yeah.
actually, too. Right now are kind of on either side of that
Walkway.
that property.
Yeah.
So remember, there was a walkway from that art gallery on the left side.
Yeah.
There was a walkway that has been removed, so it's more of a green
Yes.
space.
Yeah.
So are these benches going to be, and these platforms or whatever it is, where exactly is that going to go on that lawn?
Yes.
right.
Where the benches are currently on either side?
Yes.
Or is it going to be in the middle? He doesn't specify that, correct?
So
I think we should continue it and talk to him.
And the other
And have a
thing,
site
the other comment that I see is, while this commission didn't approve this design or this bench, it's a very natural, landscape-oriented
It blends, right?
design that perhaps blends. And I'm not sure that this is in keeping with a natural landscape feel. So,
Very geometric, and the other one's organic.
Right.
yeah, exactly. So, for what
Right.
that's worth.
Well, and I'd like to hear more about the safety issue. I mean,
True.
he says that he's putting the stones in for reasons of children's safety.
what could that possibly be?
I don't know.
I think that's a tripping hazard that we want into.
I do too, the tripping hazard.
Tripping hazard, and it's an interruption. of
And maybe not for the children,
Right.
but for older people that also sit there, it might be quite a big
Right.
safety hazard.
Right.
People sit there in the afternoons a lot.
Yeah, you know, a threshold like a door threshold, I'm not sure in inches.
But there is, if he can just keep it as a green space, okay, if it gets worn and it's getting, kind of muddy or whatever and it rains, then you can, if he doesn't do something like this, he has the flexibility to move those benches
Yes.
and reseed or give that area a rest, just like circulating farm, you give this field a rest and let it grow, and you can't do that otherwise. So
Would this be considered not unlike a sidewalk? In other words,
It is.
I'm trying to understand where this falls in the world that we live in that this commission, that this is not unlike a sidewalk or
A walkway.
Correct.
A walkway.
Walkway, driveway.
right.
it's like 14 feet altogether, right?
Which is why
Yeah.
he's come to us,
Yeah.
because he probably recognizes that.
Yeah.
And we can ask exactly where does he plan this to go, in where the benches are currently on either side of the property.
These stone beds would be framed and placed on a diagonal vis-à-vis the
So I make a motion that we table it
do
to
too. I second.
and have Jim come speak to us.
And Deanie and I could take a look at the location, or take two other
I think there are
people.
enough questions about it that we should table it and talk to him. I'm sorry he's not here.
Right.
Because the raised, what do you call the berms, the bermed garden, there are two of them, are also very sort of organic. And they're sort of
Okay.
natural.
Yeah,
And this is,
very man-made.
I think it would be obtrusive in the landscape.
Okay, is there a second for Russ's motion?
did you just second?
No, Carolyn. Further discussion? So the motion is to table to a time certain. I mean, because we have to decide on this
Sure.
by the end of next meeting.
Right.
So table to the or continue the hearing at the January meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
While we're on the subject of Graybill and the village shops, they have put up a new sign, which is unapproved. But haven't we learned signage studies that every business is allowed one sign?
That's a zoning requirement,
That's a zoning requirement.
or
But we
zoning.
have to approve every sign.
Sure.
Yes.
Right.
Anyway, there is an additional sign now.
Well, there's a second sign.
There's a second sign at the at the Chocolate Shelf. They've installed a second sign. So we were hoping to be able to mention that to Jim now, when he was here.
One clarification I'd like to understand, is it one sign per property or one sign per business on a property?
It says per property, as I recall, unless the road frontage is more than a certain distance, in which case you can have a second.
Oh,
That's my recollection.
So as it stands now, there are three. There are four. There's the financial advisor. There's the Chocolate Shell. There's Vitality Spa,
Right.
and there's the gallery. And they all have had approved signs.
got it.
And this is a new dangling sign.
It's seasonal.
It's not seasonal.
Oh, it's not?
The sparkly arch is seasonal,
Okay.
but the circular wooden pendant sign is not.
Where is that? That's right in
Oh,
front of the
right
building?
over the
doorway.
door.
Okay. Oh, so it's attached to the building.
It's attached to sort of the eave of the building.
That needs approval by
Yeah.
C of A, yeah.
But I don't even think it gets as far as C of A because it's a second sign for the same business.
Right.
Or,
So should Eric, it sounds like that's a zoning question.
We can probably mention it to Jim. I think that's a good idea, if he comes in January.
January?
Yeah.
I just think we don't want to run the risk that we have in some cases where things are allowed to exist and so much time goes on and then it becomes more difficult
Well, Martha can call him.
to ask.
Or write him a note and just alert him to the fact, John can clarify the zoning reg.
Well, I'm not, don't quote me, I'm not sure, I don't find it quickly. I read that somewhere, but I need
You can find
to,
it.
Do you have your
But in
Bible?
any case, it needs to be approved by the historic district.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
So,
well, maybe Martha, when you call or email Jim to say the commission had some studies and had some questions and wanted to look at the site, and mention that there are also some questions about unapproved signage.
I'll do that.
Okay, did we vote on that? I think, yes, we did. Everybody was in favor.
I'm going to excuse myself.
Yes.
Have a happy holiday, everyone. I don't see you.
Thank you.
There's a trail marker update, Karen?
Yeah, Daniel, we can do that. Do you want me to
You
stick
got that?
can we do that since we're both here?
It's just you were noted, that's all. I saw your name.
Sure.
Okay, we'll move that up.
Yep.
And then, we're juggling a bit, but then we can deal with the our Roger Tory Peterson issue. Okay, update on the National Votes for Women marker.
Would you like to talk?
Sure. Well, we've looked at several different possible locations now that the Lafayette Trail sign is in, and we're concerned about proliferation of signage in the district. We had concerns about placing another sign at the sort of near the church driveway, and so we considered and are still considering really moving it to the library, which was the library grounds, since Catherine was so involved with the library for so many years. But the sign does say that this indicates the home of Catherine Ludington, so there would have to be a subsidiary sign, which Martha had suggested. So we went back to the site, and Deanie and I did a site visit and tried to consider, if we don't place it right next to the church driveway, where else could it go? And we decided that there is a spot where it could go, designating the site of Catherine's house, but farther along the white picket fence, so that it's on the line, what was the town green, close to the fence, but just beyond the fence, the far side of the white fence is a cluster of shrubbery, and if the sign were not on a high post, but low so that you would see it at driveway level. People would have to, in order to read it, they'd have to walk into the green, but that's not a bad thing for them to enter the town green to read the sign. And so our best recommendation is not to put it near the fence, which actually needs repair. The fence is crumbling and needs to be maintained and it needs upkeep badly. So we thought putting it in front of the fence wouldn't be perhaps the best idea, but in front of that cluster of shrubs so that it would face essentially northeast. So you wouldn't be seeing it, as you drive down Lime Street, you wouldn't be seeing it face on. You'd be seeing it at kind of an angle, but if you're walking, you could certainly see it easily and you could walk into.
If you're coming down McCurdy Road,
Then you
you
would
see it.
see it face on. Yeah, it would face you as you come down McCurdy Road, but not as you come down Lime Street.
Yep.
There's less signage already existing on McCurdy Road, so it seems less of a, sort of addition to the signage problem.
And
We haven't asked the Coxes yet, and we would ask them because we would need their permission to put the sign on their property. They've already approved having the sign, but, the location of the sign hasn't been approved, so.
Is that their property? Is that the town? Do you know, Martha?
Well, if it's right next to the fence, you mean...
I mean, is
they
the
don't-
fence the end of their property? Where does the town green begin?
I don't know.
But anyway, it would certainly be a courtesy to talk to them about it, at the very least, yes.
And
Yeah.
and how far from the road would this be?
This would be, how far, I'm not good at estimating.
About as, it's a ways.
Yeah, it's a ways from the road.
You'd have to walk
To read the...
onto the green and,
You'd have to, yeah. You wouldn't be able to read it from the sidewalk. There's not a sidewalk there, but I guess the sidewalk ends at the church.
but there's a driveway, so that you don't have to walk across the lawn. You can walk on a paved surface to
Yeah.
go see it.
You can.
Yeah, yeah.
In other words, right in front of the house doesn't seem a good place for it. It's too obtrusive. And the Coxes are trying to sell the property, and it just doesn't look good there. And to have it right next to the church driveway is sort of clutter because the old church sign is still there. And then we thought of trying to put it near the lamppost, which is farther down the fence, but the lamppost, then again, it obstructs the lamppost and the sort of historic fabric of the property. So if we put it just beyond that, it's not much farther for a pedestrian to access, and it's less obtrusive, and it fulfills the purpose. And remember, it is pink and lavender, so we don't really want it to, it really doesn't look great with the red and blue of the Lafayette sign. We just didn't pay careful enough attention to all those details at the time, but
How big is the sign, Carolyn?
it's big.
The same, it's the same
Inside.
as Lafayette.
Okay.
I mean, all know that I've read all of Catherine's letters and, all the family's letters. I know this situation very well. Catherine would hate that sign. I just know it. She would hate the pink and lavender. She would hate So I keep looking at it thinking, oh, poor Catherine. But anyway, we could go back to the library if we don't find an appropriate place here. The library said they would consider taking it as long as we ruled out alternative locations. So we have two choices. So that's the update. So you can all think about that positioning down by the shrubbery, to the south of the driveway into the Ludington house. And if you think that's good, then we can ask the Coxes as a courtesy if that's okay, and then get it installed. If you think it's not great there, we could reconsider.
Is it still in the district? Is it in the historic district, or is it out of the district?
Good question, Rosa.
GIS.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out right now.
So if you, just so that you can all,
I'm going to run.
John, Russ, and
That's right.
Deb, and Martha can, so if there's a driveway that goes into the house through the town green.
Right.
The driveway into the Ludington property.
Right.
So if you let your eye follow along there, just before you go through the fence.
Sorry, we didn't.
Yeah. Just before you go through the fence,
Thanks, Carolyn.
there's some shrubbery right on the left, and we thought about nestling it there so that it's not in full view of the house, so they're not looking at it. But it would draw your eye back if you're a visitor interested in reading.
But you said it would be shorter?
Well,
what do
we
what do
recommended cutting the post
Okay,
down, which you can do, and just have it sit lower down,
I see. Okay.
so that it becomes the backdrop of the shrubbery, as opposed to, standing up.
Dean, would it be possible for you to take your
Of course.
camera?
Why didn't we
Just-
do it?
just-
We did this yesterday.
Just circulate an
Yeah.
image of where you...
I will do that.
Yeah, and I think we just wait, and after everyone's had a chance to either
Yeah.
visit it or look at the photos.
And the library location has not been established?
No,
quite
because
yet?
they'd have to work on that, because
Okay.
It doesn't, because it says this is the house, and it just doesn't seem right.
well, they'd have to put another plaque.
I know, but then that...
I know.
Yeah.
I know,
It doesn't make sense.
I know.
It's kind of silly.
So,
Okay.
It is part of a trail too, so that people who are interested might be following the National Votes for Women Trail and have some information that there is a location in Old Lyme and they'd be looking for it.
Did in your communications with the folks who were maintaining this trail, had you indicated a location? I mean, this is not exactly where we initially talked about, same area.
further along.
Yeah, they want the GPS coordinates, so I would just send them the new coordinates. It's pretty close. It's not that far.
Okay.
In the GPS world, it's like
Okay.
here to here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
People would be able to find it.
Well, let's just, Deanie's going to...
I'll send a photo. I don't
And
know.
then we'll continue it there. I mean, there's no
Didn't
call
take a
for
photo
vote
yet.
today, and we'll continue it to January. So, we're taking... I don't know who... 2605. Is there anyone on the phone? No. So now it's 9:59. Wow, let's turn to Roger Torrey Peterson. Sorry to keep you waiting, but Carolyn had to leave, and we needed to
Well, it's
her
10 o'clock,
input.
so-
It's 10 o'clock.
And it does say 10
That's what we're
o'clock.
running
so-
time.
Then we'll have to go back to the C of A application.
Hello, I'm Mel Twining, and I'm on the building committee for the Robert Torrey Peterson Estuary Center. And our project that we hope to undertake soon, because we really need it for our programming, is the little cottage behind and off to the right if you're looking on the street. We're assuming it was once a carriage house or a garage because there's an apron in front of part of it. And I will show you an image, the only 3D image I have of the front massing is existing conditions back in here, because the set that we had in the office was actually just assembled by our architects, Minnebrook Architects, for a zoning meeting, and I guess we haven't had an update of 3D of the front of the cottage. So one of the things on the front that we think is inappropriate ourselves are these funny little box-styled oriel windows. So part of the idea is that we would replace those with regular double-hung windows. Also, there is a little covered porch area in this corner, and in order to get better handicap accessibility, I'll show you the plans and elevations of how we'd like to fill that in and have that be part of the vestibule to be able to get easy wheelchair access into our teaching space. So that's the...
One quick question before you leave. Is there another, we walked the district the other day, and I thought there was another building or structure?
There are 2 prefab tool
Prefab
sheds.
tool sheds, that's right.
It is absolutely our intention to just get rid of those
Okay.
entirely.
Yeah, okay.
They're-
I thought I would
one of
do
them is-
something in that area.
One of them may fall to the ground before we even get
Got it.
to,
So you would end up with kind of what we're seeing, well, the two
the
buildings.
way we are developing the site
Yeah,
had not been
Set in stone.
set in stone here. It still isn't set in stone.
Right.
We've retained landscape architects, and they have done some landscape architecture master plan ideas, but because we really need to start using the cottage for summer camp and our kids' programs,
right.
and it's a little bit more manageable of a budget while we're still in our fundraising phase, so now we're going to focus on trying to get this up and running as soon as we can get all of our approval.
Just to mention about the sheds, we're commanded by statute to pass on any demolitions of buildings.
Fine, but we would, when we get to site development, which probably won't come until we come back to you for our proposed changes to the main building. We'd be coming to you for other issues anyway. But thank you, I'll bear that in mind if we just can't stand those hideous sheds in the meantime. And we find part of the reason we need to keep them is that the overall master plan accommodates mower and tool storage
Right,
underneath our proposed porch.
right. So you have to keep those in there.
What would they have to do is there a form to complete, or what would they have to do in order to notify us of the demolition of these tool sheds?
I think just
Just a letter,
well, it's a C of A.
C of A.
But
There's no separate demolition.
Okay. When I was on a Landmark Preservation Commission in New York, that would go first to the building department. The building department would then send it to you. Is that the process here, or would we come?
Historic first.
Okay, we'd always get approved historic first, but the process was through the building department. Okay, thank you.
Or they might bounce you to us anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, and there's an existing, this isn't exactly the existing conditions, on this rear, we don't know when the garage was built. We don't know when the structure off the back was built, but it clearly was not original to this. And the existing conditions, which I'm sorry I can't show you because I just was asked to do this on the spur of the moment. This corner has a funny chamfered off corner sitting underneath the same roof. We would like to square that off, so I can show you that in the plans. Again, it's just, we don't know why they did it, and we don't think it's appropriate looking.
Is that fence there now, or was that?
There is a fence. It's not in good condition, so we would most likely want to replace the fence and perhaps rectify where it sits, and that would also be what we would come before you in January.
And was there a deck too?
There is a deck, and again, the deck is dangerous in its existing condition, and it's our intent, which I will show you, to expand the deck. We're actually, in terms of how we want to use this building, we're actually a little bit lucky that we got delayed and went through COVID, because even though outdoor teaching is definitely part of the mission of Connecticut Audubon, the need for outdoor classroom space became even more dramatically apparent. So heaven forbid we should go through another situation where kids shouldn't be indoors together. It is our intent to, I'll just start with the deck because you brought it up. It is our intent to have good outdoor teaching space by expanding the deck. Existing conditions. We have to bring existing conditions next time. The deck is much smaller, and we intend to have 2 classrooms. This building will be for younger children, and we would like to have direct access out to a teaching space for both classrooms. The larger classroom has the larger deck, the smaller classroom has the smaller deck, and they're connected. And they would be at the same level as the classroom. So
And this is the front of the building.
this is the front of the
This is the front of
building.
the building.
Does the ground slope away?
In the rear, yes.
In the rear, yeah.
And it doesn't slope away on an even slope
Okay,
to the building.
right,
It slopes in this direction,
got it.
which for us was actually a lucky condition because on this side, we will need stairs down, and now that the landscape architect has some real grades to work with, the stair is going to have to be a lot longer in order to get from here down to grade. But because the site slopes up in this direction, we will be able to get direct wheelchair access, ADA access, right off the deck and down to their outdoor play and experiment and observe nature in closed fenced-in area, or for them to get, if they want to go directly from the classroom through the gate down.
Is that the ADA entrance to the interior of the building too?
Yes.
It will be. So in other words, the parking.
Instead,
Here, right?
the driveway,
Right.
Excuse me.
I'm going to reorient you so that Lime Street is toward you, so that you can see, Lime Street is going to be this.
Here, right.
This is the deck.
This is the deck,
Yeah.
and this will be
The ADA.
This will be surfaced with an impervious, an open surface, but that would be like our other trails. The whole site we want to make ADA accessible. So there will be a surface here that a wheelchair can travel on.
Right.
So children or an educator or a parent could come right down to this, which is still in the development stage, but we want to take this scruffy fenced-in backyard and try to make it a wonderful environment
But
for
my third
children.
question is that in order to get,
And we're changing the entrance to the building itself,
yeah,
which, again, we don't have a landscape plan yet that shows that, but the entrance itself would be more direct. Our engineer is putting that on the survey at this time, so that we would make the front door to the building here, where there's now that little funny opening, directly to the driveway for drop-off. That works much better with the grades than sweeping around this way at a lower grade. And we would come right in.
does that mean a ramp? I guess, does that mean a ramp here? Or I was thinking that maybe that this could be the ADA and the ramp would
The intent of the ADA law is that
be equal.
people who need accommodation are not given a second-class
Second, right,
option,
got
that
it.
they get to use the same entrance that everyone else
Right.
does. So we don't have the grades developed yet. It may ramp some. So I can't answer that question at this time. And unfortunately, ramps into buildings are not attractive, we all know that.
Right. I mean, for the commission, that's something we'll have to look at.
Okay, great. Good to know. I think it'd be better if I reorient you again so Lime Street is over behind me. So the entrance would be here where there's already an opening under that little portico roof. And
I'm sorry, Lime Street is right next, oh. yeah,
Way out here.
Gotcha.
And the drive comes here, and then is there a separate drive? And then this is where you would need the grade change right here to access. Yeah, okay.
yeah, and that's not, sorry. Oh, God. Do you want us to bring easels next time?
No, no.
No, no, that's great.
Okay. So this would be the entrance, the main entrance. We're opening up this bearing wall so that there's easier access to the hallway to get you to both of the classrooms and to get to the bathrooms and the little small kitchenette that we're required to have by state. Summer camp licensing requires a refrigerator that holds every child's lunch, and they're just a sink. There's certain other requirements by the state in order to run a summer camp. So it's not it's not a kitchen that will be for preparing food. It's more for making coffee for the staff and storing the kids' lunches and the medicines and the first aid kit and whatnot. And we do have one accessible bathroom. So this is the ground floor plan. Are there any other questions about this?
So, I'm just trying to understand, we're only responsible for exterior.
Yes.
Right? So what I'm really trying to understand, changing
I can show you the elevation.
facade,
Yeah.
ramp here,
Change
growth
the front door from here to here.
to here, growing the deck,
The deck will mostly expand in this area. And
I see that this is kind of already there.
This is already there. Because we need to
Right.
rebuild the deck,
Right.
I think it's here. We're probably moving this one part of the deck just to look better with the elevation of the windows.
So we would have jurisdiction over
Yes.
the appearance of this. Since this is probably not visible from Lime Street.
No.
We probably don't have jurisdiction. We have jurisdiction over the appearance of this, right? And then the facade.
Okay?
Is that right?
Can
Is
you
that a
show,
summary?
pull up your map and see,
Yep.
the historic district in Old Lyme is odd. If you were to create one today, it would require meets and bounds and probably include full lots. We just go back 300 feet.
And I think we
But-
are,
You're within 300 feet, but if that line intersects a building,
It does.
we have jurisdiction over the building.
That's your building right there.
Is that the front? Right?
Yeah, the front part of the
So the
building.
front half.
Is-
But we don't let people say, oh, and then I want to do crazy things in the
well,
back.
we don't want to do crazy things either.
Yeah, I know.
We have jurisdiction over the whole.
But it looks
building.
like we would have,
Yeah.
I was
Well-
just double checking that.
Okay.
But if you wanted to, I mean, let's say you had a pathway down farther, going off the backside of that or something, off these stairs, we would not have jurisdiction over that
Pathway,
that
okay.
path.
So the way in which we develop the outdoor play and experimental area for the kids is not your concern. We want to.
Look outside
This
of
is, yeah, okay. That's just wanted to confirm.
Right.
Okay, great. Okay, so you're not concerned with the second floor plan. The rear. This is
I see
the
that.
new front elevation
Right,
with
right.
double hung windows. They are proposing a sort of cottage look with the divided lights on the upper sash and blank lights on it.
And wooden clapboard?
Oh, it's already wooden clapboard, and luckily from our investigations, the clapboard's not in bad shape, even though there are other things about this little building that are in terrible shape, but, yeah, it's clapboard.
How about the roof?
Is the
The
dormer?
roof is asphalt.
Yeah, is the dormer windows, is that new, or
The only thing that would...
this part right
Yeah,
here?
the only thing that would happen on that big shed dormer is that we would be replacing the windows
Okay.
with double glaze.
Right.
And it's our intent to use the Marvin Historic
Right.
double glaze
Yeah,
windows.
great, yeah.
And the new door, and then the fence, which you would see
Right.
back in the distance. Then at the rear, this shed dormer exists, but over the stairwell, the only way that you can get head height in the stairwell is there's a funky, failing, Velux-style skylight window. Your head kind of pops up into the framing of the window, and it's not attractive, and it's really not a good way to meet the code requirement for the head height you need over a stair. So we intend to put a new dormer window over the staircase. It is here in the plan, number in the plan. Here in the plan on the second. Then also on the rear, we would like to have French door access so that there's a lot of light and view towards the estuary from this classroom. And then we would propose changing these windows again to be, right now they're modern, unattractive, and we would put double hung windows here.
Will you leave that
The
page?
larger classroom.
So this is clearly, you're building up with something, and then deck, in other words, this will have a fascia on it.
This
No?
is purely diagrammatic from the
Okay.
architect's office, because when this drawing was done, the site plan...
Oh, so we don't know that yet?
The site plan,
Hasn't been, got it.
All right, so we really don't know the exact nature
Of the fence. And
of this yet.
the fence will come down to
To-
just below the...
Okay, all right,
It's
got
not
it.
going to be...
It's not gonna be
This-
raised.
What you're seeing here, sorry, because I'm looking at it upside down.
Yeah.
This is the balustrade across the deck.
And that's gonna be essentially at grade?
No, the balustrade, you're right, that will be filled in. The balustrade across the deck itself will be accessible to be at the same level as the classrooms. And one of the classrooms right now is sunken, which is another reason to demolish the existing deck.
What I'm trying to understand is...
Yes, this will be filled
the-
in.
From the facade point of view, from this front view...
What is this material?
Yeah, right. Is this ground at this point, and then this, or is this built up? This is, in other
We'll
words,
have
there's gonna be
grading.
something here. So
Yes,
it's-
yes, what is
it's-
this?
What
That's
is
okay, we
that?
can
Right.
mark it.
Yeah. What's that? I'll turn it.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, what's this material, and then what is this in the design of that, right?
Right, the material, the fence.
Whether
door.
it's a stone fill-in or a lattice.
Right,
What they're
exactly.
proposing, or lattice, or
Lattice stone.
shrubbery, or...
Right.
Right,
what,
materials
yeah.
for the windows, for the doors, for the fence,
Yep.
Yeah.
for
Yep,
the clapboards, the
yep.
ropes.
And this,
I think this ADA surfacing and ramp and design,
Yes,
does it have railing? Because it probably has to have railing too? Or no?
No. Hopefully it's going to be a
Right.
shallow enough grade. The
Right.
landscape architects have given us a master plan for the whole site,
Right.
where they really traverse back and forth across the site to get down to, especially we have an inland wetland, which is
Sure.
fantastic bird habitat and a fantastic educational opportunity for kids and adults. And so they have very carefully analyzed what we have so far in grading from the engineers to follow the site without any kind of handrails.
But for
Handrails,
the
yeah.
front though, would it have,
I can't tell you yet.
We don't know
Okay.
yet. That would be something, if it does,
Okay.
that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah, can I just?
Yeah, sure.
I brought my
Yeah.
pen, but I think I left it over
Yeah.
there. Great. And the new side elevation, it looks like we're going to replace underneath the deck with lattice, which is what's there now on the existing deck. That's what's proposing. We haven't had any in-depth discussions about that yet. And just
Which
bear in mind that
side is
stair
this?
is gonna have to go.
This is south side?
This is south elevation.
Facing the house, facing
What's the square footage of the,
Okay. It's pretty small. I can't tell you.
okay. So this is, this is the proposed or this is currently?
This is proposed, where we've squared off this funny chamfered corner in plan and
Expanded the deck
expanded the deck.
with the ramp
Except
coming down.
the draftsman didn't realize this is not supposed to be filled in with fencing because this is the handicap access out.
Oh, okay.
I haven't
And
seen
these
the
are
entrance.
just
And
dropped
this
off.
becomes the entrance.
In the front,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
And then that's classroom 1 and classroom 2, both exits.
Or is that the ADA right here, right? There's a gap
yeah, I
in the
thought so.
fencing right here, maybe.
Well, then you should have drawn the deck going there. I'm looking at it upside down and I'm looking at axonometric.
View in there.
Oh, I think you're right. I think it's just hidden by the roof
Right.
Yeah.
and the new dormer. And the other thing that we would be doing in order to get this floor plan to work, and there is an existing abandoned brick chimney from the old heating system that was abandoned a long time ago, the old oil heating system. We will be using air-to-air heat pumps, so there will be condensers somewhere. There currently is one condenser for air conditioning out on this elevation, but that hasn't been identified yet, what the ultimate location will be. But if we can pin it down before January, and I'm sure we will surround it with shrubbery.
It's under our jurisdiction.
Yeah, I know. So in order to get even a 3-foot wide doorway from the vestibule into the rest, we have to remove that old chimney. And then as long as we were removing it, because it just doesn't make sense to put it here because that doesn't really work with the swing of the accessible door. So as long as we were having to remove the chimney to get access here, it made a lot more sense, even better handicapped access if we just open it up. So this isn't such a tight space either. And you're just concerned about the elevations and not the plan inside or what we put in, how we use it inside.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Although it's interesting.
It is, yes.
I know, we're getting a preview.
Yeah, no, thank you for.
And if you come to the zoning meeting, you will see that we plan to retain a residential component on the second floor. It's currently zoned residential. It was used as a residence. And we have a burning need. The whole reason Claudia thought this property would be so great for us to buy is not only did it have beautiful outdoor access to the Lieutenant River, but it had a gazillion rooms, and we have 3 or 4 summer interns every summer who do research on the river with our conservation biologist, and trying to find somebody's garage apartment to stick them in for a few weeks in the summer. It's just been a nonstop challenge for us.
Yeah.
It's our hope that we'll be able to attract, especially now that the NER has been designated, it's our hope that we might eventually be able to attract a scientist on sabbatical who might want to spend a few weeks doing some research
And possibly, if we ever become anywhere half near as wealthy as the Floger is, we might need a spot or a caretaker, but that would be way down the road that we would get to that point. To retain the second floor, which kids couldn't get to anyway. It's not accessible. It doesn't need to be to have a little temporary space up there, but if it were open to the kids, we'd need to add an elevator, and we're not doing that.
How does one get
Oh,
up there?
really? Just the existing stairs.
Which
So
are
just like your
inside
single, inside, just like your
Oh,
house.
okay.
You don't need that for a second floor bedroom.
So if, I mean, just out of curiosity, if you were planning to have programs for the children upstairs, you'd
Yeah.
have to have an elevator? Oh, that's ADA. I see,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Or
Unless there's a
the
hard
way
stop,
the,
right?
the way the law is written is very flexible. You'd have to have a reasonable accommodation, and that would mean somebody's going to have to carry the kid in the wheelchair up there. And that's not going to happen on that tiny stair with a winder.
Right.
Okay, but that's not what you're doing anyway. I just...
Yeah. So we looked at that elevation. We looked at this elevation. We looked at that axonometric, which is the same as this.
So one other thing I think that we've been talking about recently, I think it's important to think about here too, is lighting. Particularly
Outdoor lighting?
Outdoor lighting, particularly if you have this large deck area. I don't know if you're using this in the evening or at night,
Very unlikely.
but it would be great to understand any lighting changes.
Yeah,
or
we
just-
might need,
yeah.
you're right, we may need lighting for end of the day, winter programming to get the kids
Right.
safely back inside. And I will tell you, we haven't picked out light fixtures or located them, but that's a great question, Russ. But I will tell you that as a, as a nature environmental organization, particular concern with birds, we always recommend any lighting, just shed light down,
Yep.
not up. So anything that we would find would be well hooded and downward focused.
We've been doing a little research, and I think there's the dark sky.
Yes.
And the idea of the 3,000 Kelvin, the color temperature is important too, right? And it does affect wildlife. Blue light is not great for wildlife either. And so anything that you guys are researching or finding on that.
Even when we first hired Center
Yeah.
Brook for our former property,
Yeah,
we went over bird safety from flying into windows, and
Yeah.
we were going to have great big glass looking towards the pond, and it was going to be fretted so that birds saw it and could see the fretting, and we discussed with them, you are going to do the dark skies light? Yes, absolutely. So Center Brook, and we are very much in tune with that request and
Well,
make sure that it gets identified.
if they have knowledge or, I mean, it was something we're interested in learning more about, so
Great.
please share that with us, particularly related to wildlife.
Yes.
And lighting and so forth.
Put a note that we should.
Yeah, one of the things we learned in the last few years is what a dark place Alzheimer's is from space. There are maps and things that show, and our entire side of the river up to Haddam is very, very dark by comparison to all of the surrounding towns here.
From New York to Boston, it's one of the darkest spots.
It's one of the darkest spots. and so-
I've looked at
Yeah.
those myself.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
and so, you know, we're becoming interested in trying to make an effort to raise awareness about that.
Get
And
Let's
work
get the
on
federal
our
government
lighting
to put the old lights that shine down
so that we can
Great.
preserve.
Great.
You know,
That's fantastic.
yeah.
But if nobody else in town is taking it on, if you guys are, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, we do, whenever there's a sign in particular that comes in, the signage is typically lit, and so your comment, we try to the downward focus, that's the other thing. The lighting should only be needed for what its purpose and not the additional spillage.
And that
Yeah.
sign that we have, which we kind of inherited that, I can't remember, I think it's just spots on the ground, which I hate. Hopefully we will be
Yeah, maybe-
able to be redoing
Yeah.
that. Maybe they already did and I just didn't notice.
And with the soft, I mean, is that the color of the light? Is that the heat? I mean, is that the
It's color temperature.
It's
color
warm cool.
temperature?
Yeah, warm and cool. That and then.
It would be great, since you're doing it, to be a good example.
That's what,
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yes.
what we're hoping everything we do on the property is a good example, both the way that we restore native plantings and show how planting native doesn't have to look scruffy. If you don't like scruffy, you can be formal. So we have that little formal garden that we're restoring, the sunken garden. So we try to be educational about everything.
And all of it, well, and signage too. I mean,
Now,
since you are going to be
I overheard-
having some programs.
Yeah, I overheard that discussion you all were having about the purple and pink Catherine Ludington sign. I agree with Carolyn. I don't think Catherine Ludington would want a purple and pink sign. I don't understand where that came from, but I think we already allowed the library and Carolyn's group to put some historical little sign things around. Did they come
Well,
forward?
the witness, yeah,
Yeah,
We
the
have a witness
stone.
stone.
There's a witness stone sign.
and then there's a sign at the library.
We have a witness stone, but I thought they also wanted to put some other little things around our property. You don't know anything about it. I'm going to
I
ask
think just-
Alicia what that was. Because we also need educational signage to explain our meadow and our plantings, and we
Right.
obviously want to
The
put
Slow
tree
Grizz
signs.
has that all at their
Yeah.
artist trail too. But our concern would be signage that's visible from Lion
From the
Street.
street.
And within 300
And we,
feet.
you know, we would discourage the use of sandwich board signs saying registration today or something like that. I know you have to do something
Because it
for
has to
short
be
periods of
temporary,
time.
yes.
But to sort of think about that, it would really be
Right.
helpful to the overall idea that we're trying to, diminish the numbers of those that are scattered.
And
all over.
unfortunately, we don't have an unlimited budget, and we already
No,
have
no, I
that scaffold that our new sign's hanging from, and I don't think a registration.
I'm just talking about
table,
going
I know.
forward, your other
Going
signs.
forward,
Summer
when
camp,
that whole thing falls
registration,
apart.
enter here, pick up here, all these things that happen around children's programs. you
Yeah.
know? So that's something that will be of interest to us too. It's just how that's handled and how you think about that.
Let me just mention a few things that we do look at. I really appreciate your coming in and the
Oh, I appreciate your giving us the time.
preparation.
And I apologize,
But
as I say, I was
some of
just
these
asked
things,
late last night if I would run by and pick up the drawings and bring them in, so.
so some of these things we've already mentioned, but very helpful to have photos of
Existing.
the existing. It's very helpful to have, let's say you're doing a walkway, samples of the material. If you're doing any mechanicals, all the specs, brochures often have the specs in them. We do pay attention to shielding, as you mentioned with the ramp, but also any mechanicals, either lattice works that fit with the buildings or shrubbery or both, often will
The less
ask for.
visible. The less, since you are rebuilding, the less visible those mechanicals
Yeah.
can be.
I agree.
Is to everybody's advantage, neighbors, Stark District.
But one thing that,
one pretty firm.
Can I go grab my own?
Here's one pretty firm position we've taken is nothing in terms of mechanicals on the front side.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it were shielded, sorry.
Absolutely.
Some of this seems so commonsensical to us, but you'd be surprised
It comes
what
up.
people...
But I was on the Landmarks Preservation Board for the city of Yonkers for 20 years. It's the third largest city in New York and has some really beautiful historic districts. And it's all what we wrote in our guidelines. Another one that we were big on, and my insistence was shutters have to be placed in the right location as if they were on real hinges.
Right.
And
That's interesting.
have real
Yeah.
hinges.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, when you just nail it up to the
Yeah,
side of
just
the
nail them
building,
up.
it looks like a kid's poster hanging in their bedroom versus a beautifully framed picture on the wall.
It has to be purposeful.
Yeah.
It has to be visually in the right
Spot.
when you know how a shutter works and you
Right.
see it nailed to the side.
Yeah, and in terms of the description of proposed work, I can already tell you'll be thorough, but I would say, what are the percentages of applications we get where we say to ourselves and then to the applicant, we really need some more information here. So just
And
thorough descriptions of what you're proposing.
I noticed they don't have gutter leaders drawn on. Do you require that?
We do get gutters.
I think overall, though, the plan seems,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it will be a major upgrade for that place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
absolutely.
the timeline now for this?
Oh, we were so much hoping to have this out to bid in early January, and are you taking notes on everything I say?
It's,
Oh,
Yeah, this is gonna be like a general.
okay. We were...
the meeting is recorded.
Yes, okay. So we were hoping to have gotten through all of our zoning issues by this point, to have that all wrapped up. And it looks like that meeting cannot occur until February, or no, until January. If we check all the other boxes, January. We told Centerbrook to go ahead with working drawings, but now trying to get bids is going to be for spring construction is totally impossible. So it looks like we're in summer construction, which is a big disappointment to us.
So the zoning meeting is typically a week after
Yeah.
ours, and are you thinking you would come in at our next meeting? with
Yes,
the C of A?
that's the whole reason I wanted to make sure that I knew exactly what you need to see, so that we are not held up.
So this is great to give us this preview of what you'll come back with in January. And then hopefully...
I think the railing design, I know it's very preliminary now. I think that railing design is probably one of the most prominent things we'll see, that it would be good to understand that pretty clearly at the January meeting.
The railing on the back porch that you see.
Yeah, that's from the road, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
ramp?
Yeah, and the ramp, yeah. I think the windows we kind of understand, and
Is there a ramp at like the Children's Center or at LYSB?
Yeah,
yeah, we should look
that's
at
why
it.
we had to pave the parking
Okay.
lot at the LYSB for
Pay
the...
attention to that.
Mhm.
Yeah, currently you don't see that railing around that porch because of plantings, and I don't know how much of that planting is going to be able to be retained, so...
And will the deck be wood and the railing be, everything's wood? Okay.
And yes, the existing roof is asphalt and moss.
We like that company.
To be
So nice.
replaced with asphalt, and is that where you're heading?
And we're not planning on having a green moss roof. So,
Thatched roofs coming back.
We had a roofer look at it, and he had promised that he was going to clean all that moss off, and that roofer seems to have disappeared. So we will have to address the condition of the roof underneath all those clumps of moss when the contractor looks at it. But we're hoping not to have to replace that asphalt roof at this time. We'll have to see. But if we do, we'll come back to you with the color and the manufacturer specs and color selection.
Great.
Anything else?
No, this is great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much.
Nell.
Yeah.
Great.
It's,
That's your phone.
Yeah. It might be Claudia asking, are you still meeting?
we have, and it also will help expedite the hearing. We had somebody come in not too long ago with a rather complex, I think it was LAA, and we had all sorts of questions at this stage, and then they came in with the application, and we said, oh, okay.
Good to go.
I'm sure we'll have a few questions, but this is very helpful.
Great. Oh, helpful to me too. So thank you. And Dee Dee, thank you for getting us on.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, we are down to two items and then a quick check of new and ongoing business. The C of A application forms, what I have done is added in boldface italics. Did you?
I saw the email. I liked it.
Oh, you printed it out?
I did.
Okay. Martha, give one to Martha too, just to have a hard copy. And this is just me making things up at, well, when did I send this? Midnight?
Yes.
So.
12:01.
So let's just walk through it.
And this is for our website as well as the town website, correct?
Yes, and I changed, Martha, I changed the top header to say revised 11/22.
Yeah, I saw that.
But just look at the proposed boldface language and see if there's anything you want to change, you want to add. I have one particular set of questions that are on page 2, but wait for that.
On Form B, where it looks like we're talking about driveways and parking lots, should we include like walkways or sidewalks or
I think we should add walkways.
walkways?
That's a good idea.
That's actually in the handbook
Yeah,
already,
walkways.
walkways.
So that's on Form B, because it's
Right.
it's an A right now.
Oh, it is an A, you're right. But it probably should be in B, like with driveways and parking lots? I don't know. What do you think?
Is there an explanation somewhere, like on our website, why I have to do this if I'm somebody brand new to this district?
Why you have to do
Why do I have to do a certificate of appropriateness? You have to do that because under a jurisdiction, we need to check off. I'm just saying for somebody who's never been, because when I joined this commission, I was like, what is the whole CFA thing? I didn't know what it was. But I'm just saying, is there somewhere that just kind of takes you one step back to say why you need to do this?
Well, I think that the handbook certainly does.
Okay.
But the question is whether we want, the question that I'm thinking of, based on what you just said, is whether we should have some
Like a little intro, a little explanation
Intro.
of the difference of this form and like for like.
Right.
Because again, when I first joined, I heard all these terms and I was like, I don't understand. So just from somebody from outside, so that everybody's clear.
Do we have a process, is that addressed somewhere else on our link?
There is if you go to the Historic District Commission page, there is something called frequently asked questions.
Okay.
And it's listed under certificate of appropriateness, C of A, and it says, what is a certificate of?
Okay,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
good. Okay,
So
great,
that's
great.
addressed.
Okay.
It shouldn't be on this form, it should be there.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
But it should be, you shouldn't have to click a few times to find it. It should be like right there. This is what you
Yes,
need.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
this is a whole, I mean, as Deanie and I have talked, and I know you guys have your own thoughts, there's just a whole lot of stuff we should be doing. And that's one of it. I mean, come look at what is up there now with the eyes of somebody who
Who knows
Right.
nothing.
never dealt
Yeah.
with this process.
Fine.
What would be most useful? I think the summary guidelines are actually a very useful thing. They don't spell out all the details, but somebody in a page and a half can say, okay,
Right.
this is the statutory, okay, this is what I have to do. So some of the main points. But is it all integrated? No, just a short answer.
Well, we should add that on our to-do, is to read it as if you have no idea about
Right.
anything.
Right.
You just bought a house here, and you want to replace the windows. What is
I
your
would
process?
just make a suggestion, and I mentioned this earlier regarding multiple view photographs. Because often we say, oh, yeah, that house. Like if we had photographs of like the Miller's property.
We do, upstairs, and then we've updated them.
Okay, but I'm just saying if people can furnish multiple view photographs, whether we get them by a PDF or whatever, just from, whether it doesn't have to be 4 angles of a house, but 2 or front and back or whatever. It's just the more information, I think the
Yeah, that's going
better.
to come up on page 2, and
Okay.
that we may want to make a
Okay.
change, taking your comments into account. Okay, so walkways, Form A or Form B?
Let's see. And why do we have the 2 different forms?
Yeah, what's Form A and what's Form
I
B?
didn't realize we had 2.
Well, it's for different things.
Yeah, but what is...
Why?
The fees are different.
Why?
Well, I guess the thought must have been that for really big projects,
It's
What is-
more complex.
yeah,
What does
that-
Form A and Form B look like?
All right, so
this
that's,
is both of them. I found that confusing, but.
Yeah, it's the same, you just check the box. It's really just the fee.
Why don't we, in light of inflation, have a $50 fee for everything?
I know. I was thinking the exact same thing this morning. I'm like,
why would we have 2 forms?
right, what is there, why does it break it up?
Yeah,
Well, we,
this is like a standard thing from the
State?
state, or if other
It's
towns have
not
it?
state mandated. We could look to see what other
Yeah,
towns have.
yeah.
This is, we've gone from one page
People always ask me about that.
one page
about that.
to two pages. But I'm sensing already this is not going to be ready today. But why don't I take a look at some other towns and see what they do?
Yeah.
I'm sure that the fee has been at that level for years and years and years and years.
Right. Right.
30 years.
So $25 30 years ago was, probably the equivalent of, that's a lot of money.
yeah.
But
I would say that
I'm kind of with Russ, it just really complicates things.
it does. I see the reasoning now that when you're doing a building addition
Yeah.
or a major project, there's more in-depth. I would suggest that if we go to one fee in one form, which to me, simplicity is always a beautiful thing, that maybe it's not $50, but it's a blend between the two. It's like 35 or 40 or something. It would seem to be a little onerous to charge $50 for.
To come in and put up a stockade, replace a piece of your stockade fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
So if we do that, that's my thought.
I think that's probably why they were different too.
Yeah.
Things, yeah.
But see, I would see a walkway, if we do keep two separate forms, I see a walkway as a significant structure, right? Not unlike a driveway.
That's fine.
So I would move that to be.
Move walkways to be.
Because that takes concrete and other things.
It would be simpler just to have one.
One, right, Martha? Yeah.
Just for C of A.
Yes. I would
If you're
support
doing
that.
this, you need a C of A, this is what it costs.
Yep. Yep.
Is it like for like, that would be $25?
No, there's no.
Nothing for like.
Oh.
Right.
So I predict we get more like because they're.
Well, it encourages people not to make major changes.
Yeah.
Right? It encourages you to keep it historic. Right.
Also, one fee might encourage people to think about what they're going to do at one time. Well, at least within some time frame.
And these
Not
fees
to keep coming back.
go directly to this budget.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we get credit for our fees.
You don't? I keep racking it up thinking how much money we're making this year.
It doesn't like.
Really, $785.
The fees go to the town.
Oh, they do?
Oh, well.
Oh, we don't? No.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're income producing now for the town.
Okay, as have sort of taken on revisions to this, do we have a consensus? Would you like to eliminate Form A and Form B?
Yes, and I think it should just be one fee, or do we still discuss that we want to keep it?
I think unless there is another compelling reason, either the town stipulates in some way, if there's another compelling reason to have two, I would vote and be in favor of having simplicity.
One form at $40.
Yeah, or something like that.
Most of our fees are $25, so we'd be ahead there.
What does building charge for permit and that type of thing? Like, what do they pay? What
What do you
Oh, they're-
pay for a building permit?
They're significant, I think.
I don't know.
That's probably quite a bit more.
A couple hundred.
Yeah, you have building inspectors that have to go out and inspect.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's labor involved.
And then, John, for the shutters, as Nell mentioned, the note deletion.
What does note deletion mean?
Yeah.
It means, note that I deleted something, which was a reference to exterior architectural features, which is too.
You deleted elevations.
And then I also in number 7, I deleted something else, but she's looking under Form A.
And do you want to put stone walls?
Oh, under Form A, you deleted architectural features.
Why would we delete that?
Because it turns out that it's a very complicated definition, and it
Right.
essentially encompasses both buildings and all other structures. So it's not that, what I had thought, and it would be an exterior architectural feature, things attached to the house, but it's not limited to that. So I'd just rather give the specific example.
John, do you want to say stone wall?
I guess, well, I guess, let's say somebody wanted...
There is, when you
saying
get
it falls
into the
under walls.
nitty-gritty, the definition of exterior architectural features
Right.
is too complicated
Living.
to explain. I mean, if somebody came in and, on this form, if somebody came in and said, oh, what would be another
Like that
exterior
feet.
architectural
Yeah.
feature?
Backdrop.
It's not
Yeah.
limited to things attached to a house.
That's a good point.
Oh, but what I guess my concern, or I want to make sure we're not opening up a can of worms here, or opening it up, and that, let's say somebody wanted to reskin the front of their house without changing a wall, but changing the design of the front of a house. Where do we cover that here? Like if I wanted to remove, let's say I wanted to remove some columns in front of my house, or change the pilasters that are on the face of the house. Let's say I don't like those, and I want to get rid of them,
You think of something.
and I want to put something different there. Is that, did we lose the ability to address that? If we,
Well, no, I mean, I think this also relates to how much detail do we want to, if any, do we want to put in here about the types of things that are
Features.
included within our jurisdiction. Why, if we just have one fee, I mean, the reason for listing these things, I take it, was roughly to distinguish the relatively minor changes from the relatively major changes.
Got it.
So if we just have one fee, why do we have to list any of this?
in it at all, right?
Right. I mean, we could say, I could say in here,
Instead of,
for a list of,
rather than architectural, how about
structures and buildings,
If you list anything,
see the website. I mean, see the handbook, see the website.
I mean, if you list anything, it's what's listed in the Connecticut state statutes.
Right.
And columns are an excellent example
right,
of that. I mean, we're mentioning small things like shutters and
and there should be
but
columns.
a column,
and-
someone could decide they wanted to put a big grand Corinthian column on a simple house. You know, where would we?
Because it's a structure, it's attached to the
Yeah, I mean, if
part
we
of the
have
house.
jurisdiction
You can't-
over everything
exterior.
external.
Should that be mentioned, columns?
Well, I guess he's
My
saying
question is,
not to mention anything.
Why should you mention anything?
Anything.
Because, in other words, if we're not in this form,
Right.
providing answers to why do I need a C of A, and what's this all about, and what's the process, and what do I need this for, I think maybe some general sentence at the beginning saying, for information about the types of structures, or the types of features for which one needs a C of A, and for information about the process, C.
Yeah, sometimes the questions that I get will be like, well, I see you list this, and this, but not that.
Right.
Does that mean that I don't need one for that
That's
other thing?
the exclusion is always the concern.
Yeah, so if we said something like, we have jurisdiction over everything external,
Right.
any external changes.
All external features that are visible
For
from,
example,
A public way.
yeah, from
Right.
Lime Street or another public way.
because really, that's really what we do in practice. We look at everything
Mhm.
external.
Deb just made the point of perhaps saying stone walls and living hedges. So that's a term that's currently used to describe hedging, as opposed to the things you buy at Walmart that you can stick up.
The green
Well,
backdrop.
I think what John's proposing is we delete all that.
All of that.
Oh, really?
And just say, we.
Any changes.
Anything that's external, visible from, a public right-of-way being Lime Street, Boston Post Road, within the historic district, right? That we don't go into the specifics here.
Don't go into the details.
Do we say even hardscape? I mean, anything. Anything's anything, with no example.
Well, you know, if I were reading this and I just said any structures and I hadn't done my homework, I might say, well, I want to put in a driveway. That's not a structure.
Right, you might
Because it's
think
not,
that.
I mean, they don't understand that, I mean, the zoning has a very particular definition of structure, which is different from ours. And we have a definition that is not, probably doesn't conform to ordinary understanding, because structure is something that's built up.
And it's important to say anything that can be seen from Lime Street, reiterate that, but I would think that you would want to put some examples in there, because you're always going to get someone that's going to say, oh, that doesn't pertain to me, because, you know, it's going to be in the back of my house, or it's going to be in the far back or something. I think you should have some examples and then say not limited to this, you know, see the handbook for full details or something.
Or what if you said that any demolition or.
Yeah, I want to have demolition.
Demolition or constructions, additions, changes within the historic district must be approved, you must submit a C of A, unless it's a like for like. I mean, something along those lines. So it's like,
Because really, when you come right down to it, it's a very simple thing that we do. We just take care of everything that you can see outside. Somebody could buy a house in this district, and they could gut the entire inside of it.
Sure.
And
Not have
But
to
it's not everything you can see. If somebody wants to put a chair in their front yard, just set it on the lawn,
well,
I don't think we have any say over that at all. It's not, a structure has to be something that
well, that's art, that's sculpture.
is attached to the,
That's what was the question about the benches.
To the bench.
That was the whole conversation about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people kind of understand that if they put a patio chair out in front of their house, that, you know, need to get permission.
right.
But, you know, but then we have issues with things like the stores and, you know, the ice cream shop and the Nightingale Cafe, where they're putting things out temporarily that we might have some issues with. It gets tricky.
All right, I'm sensing we could talk about this for a long time.
Right.
Let me take a shot at doing an introductory paragraph, probably having a few ideas so that they know, it includes driveways that aren't just built up.
Right, for example, or something.
And it would appear on this, or it would appear on the...
I'm thinking replace Form A and Form B with a starting up top, a starting paragraph that
Okay,
says
good.
in
Very
general,
good.
and say this
Good
form
idea.
is required for any.
Our most common, you know, if you look at all of the agenda items, what are the top 3 that we typically see, right? Those are the ones to at least mention.
Well, let's go through quickly. Number 3, the commercial structure was Eric Knapp's suggestion. Number 7, scaled drawings, I took out, it said scaled drawings and elevations. It just seemed redundant to me. If you have scaled drawings.
Right, the elevation in there.
Well, the only problem is that we say site plan. I mean, I think
In other words, a scale drawing may be a sign. You don't need a full site plan
Right.
for a sign.
Scale drawings is fine, yeah, that's fine, yeah, okay.
I added a brochure. I just think not everybody thinks of that, but it can be very helpful. And then the top of page 2, under instructions, this is my effort to deal with what I see as some ambiguity, because we never said, we give this checklist of things you may want to attach, but we never say, well, when do you have to attach them?
Okay.
And we definitely want a site plan and scale drawings. Let's see, but here it says site plan and scale drawings, both. But when do we insist on a photo? When do we insist on samples of materials? So I just tried to encourage submission of those things.
Well, let me ask this question. Do we keep, like when we get, and I'm thinking of the building that was shifted forward that because of wetlands, the pottery.
Right.
Oh, right.
The till.
Do we, when we receive site plans and have our discussions in our meeting, how do we keep a record? Do we keep those? Because what I'm getting at is, do we need some official documentation that this is what the commission approved that becomes the formal record, if you will? So, if a neighbor comes back later on and says,
They're doing
X, and we say, no, we approve this, we didn't approve this, but we have no record of showing what we approved, it seems like that's the documentation or the information that has to be requested and kept.
I mean, I have everything that was presented, I mean, other than the huge drawing, for example, for the Art Association.
Right.
You know, with our meeting, with all of the documentation for that meeting.
But you have it, you mean you personally have it, or is there a town?
Well, I personally have it
Well-
because I'm trying to keep track of
Right.
all the paperwork.
But if somebody
Yeah.
drops off a
But
bunch
the
of
town
stones, or the corner section of a window,
Right.
where is that kept?
We return those to.
Yeah, I don't think that gets kept.
Okay.
We
but
return the
but I
paper,
think,
exactly.
but I think we should take a picture of it and have the picture be in the
Yeah, that's
in the
true.
record.
Right, in other words, it's kind of that record of what we've signed off on needs to be kept, and those are the things that need to be submitted. So in the case of a building or an addition, there should be the scaled, the drawing site plan of that. And it seems to me that, the zoning commission, they keep the final plans, right?
The building department
The
has
building-
all that. I mean, we did have a question about the lily tile, if you recall,
Right,
when it was being built. And I remember John Forbes and a group of us went and walked out there. And then we revisited how that had been moved.
Mhm.
And that's when we learned how that process had happened. It was outside of our
Mhm.
jurisdiction, and that all of that information was with the building department.
See, I would suggest that whatever we formally approve, whatever document that's approved, gets filed with that zoning, with that application, that permit, building permit, or mechanical permit.
When we have a C of A, for example,
Right.
I've been doing this little part of
Right.
this job. We approve it, and there are all kinds of information that we have.
Right,
So I take it upstairs,
okay,
and they upload it
okay,
onto the town and to the building department.
got
So
it.
they have the C of A, they have our conditions,
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
they have
Right,
the photographs that were submitted.
right,
That's all available on the town website.
perfect, okay.
Does that answer your question?
That's my question, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Right. that's great that they store it all and.
They store it.
Good.
Right, so,
And
go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to say, and another thing Martha's in the process of doing, or she started until we got 31 applications last year.
Right.
But is to have a complete list of C of A's with their status so that we can
Track it.
these going back several years, and then this will be the start of a permanent record, and if somebody ever gets really ambitious, we should go back through all the minutes. And I mean, right now, I couldn't tell you when the Florence Griswold Museum had a sign approved. I mean, that was one of Deb
Right.
Moore's questions. I said, I don't know. I know it's been at least 20 years because posted on the website are the summaries of C of A applications, and there's nothing for that address.
Right.
And the way I've been doing it, just since I've been doing it just this year, is keeping everything per meeting. So if you were trying to find out if something happened at the Florence Griswold, you'd have to remember what meeting that was.
Right.
I wouldn't quickly be able to go
Per
to.
Per property, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
and the
That's what
zoning,
we really...
it should be per property, yeah.
Right, because then it could be absolutely nothing happens in some of these properties for years, and then you go to Flow Grizz and it's everything that's currently going on
So maybe-
within us
Right.
or within building department or something. There's got to be some sort of.
The building
app
department
or
does, it has a record of permits. Online, there's a record of the building permits. I've done that, I've looked at it, and you can see all the things that have been approved that are ongoing or completed per property.
But for us, it should be some sort of program where it's per property. That you can almost look at just, what Halls Road has and, how many properties are in this district.
Well, we should,
70
ideally, we should have something similar on our website per property, so somebody can go
Right.
click on it and say, oh,
The status, right?
I want to, this gets into another issue I'll talk about under new business, but yeah, we should have something
Right.
similar
So my
online, but-
point, the bigger point
The
about this
question
document
who has
is
time?
this information that we're requesting has two roles. One is, it's the role of us trying to understand what they're going to do so we can vote on it. But the second is that there's a record.
Sure,
So-
so anybody can check, a neighbor can check.
Right,
So we do have it, the town has it,
right.
plus we have it. I mean, maybe an easy, program, to me, just a file folder with every single property.
Yeah.
Every single address, and every time something happens, you just put it in. Instead
Okay.
of doing it per meeting,
Yeah, maybe.
In your spare time.
Yeah, that's right.
Are
that's
there,
not a super complicated thing to do. It just requires a
Yeah.
file with the
But I'm saying to do
address
it
of
for
every...
digital.
It should all be
Oh,
digital.
digital,
Yeah.
I'm...
Yeah, it should all be digital.
Right, it all should be.
Yeah, we used to have a couple of tall files
Right.
organized by, the west side of the street and the east side of the street
Right.
by property address.
Kind of like what vision appraisal is. You can click on
What
any
happened to
property.
that? What happened to those files?
Decided that they
Data.
didn't want to store all these
Yeah.
paper files.
Right,
So they scanned them.
yeah.
oh,
That-
so where are those scans?
The scans are somewhere in the town.
Ether.
I think
There's a
they
Google,
did Dan
Google
Beret.
server.
Dan Beret, they had a grant to digitize them all.
Yeah.
So they've been digitized.
I got
But
it.
you have to come here. You can't get it from your own computer at home.
Right.
You have to come here. There are offices upstairs where you can go sit and you can
Yeah.
look.
You can record.
So that is available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have the
Honey.
budget to get it.
But we don't know, we don't even know.
Well, our stuff is on there.
So I still have files at home because I need the stuff.
Sure.
Right.
Like I need the paper, so I have file boxes with,
Yeah.
by street address. So I can pull out a folder with 21 Line Street or,
Well, and in all your spare time, you can type.
And I have them, at least for the last year, I have them all.
Yeah, no,
by
Edie's
meeting.
been doing it.
By meeting.
Okay, folks, this was supposed to be our short meeting. let me suggest that I come up with another revision.
Okay.
Rather than trying to make some changes that are clear enough to make today
And John,
we'll
I
just do
sent
it all at
everybody
once.
Sag Harbor C of A, which is 7 pages, and it has to be notarized and all that. It's overkill, but at least it's something else to just...
Oh, good. Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of these, like zoning permit applications are pages and pages long. Not that that should be our goal, but
Right.
we went from 1 to 2 pages. If it needs to go to 3 pages, it doesn't, And I got my changes on this, Martha, only by taking out a couple of lines. Otherwise, it would have gone.
Yeah, it's good to keep it at that 2 pages, yeah.
Okay, the budget we do need to do today.
So the budget, I went over the numbers, and the only thing that's really out of line is our other miscellaneous. We always ask for, $400 or $500, but it's never enough.
What does that include?
That includes donations to Florence Griswold Museum, the Old Lyme Historical Society, the National Trust, the Connecticut Trust. That's about $400, $390. And then the Ice Cream Social and the calendar sponsorship.
Why should we make donations?
Right.
As a town organization, because
it started that...
$100 doesn't make or break the Florence Griswold Museum.
No. It started out that we wanted to support the Connecticut Trust and the National Trust.
Those I understand.
And then we added the Historical Society, and then we added Florence Griswold.
And ice cream.
What's the ice cream?
And the Ice Cream Social, it's kind of a marketing thing for us, like...
Where is that?
It's up on the green.
Town band concert in
So
August.
that's by this association, or this commission?
They did the little thing for Lafayette sign at the social this year.
Oh, right.
It's the Historical Society that does the social, right?
Yeah, they are the ones in charge of it, but I think Florence Griswold contributes to it. We do. There's like 3 sponsors.
How much
It's
is
free
that?
ice cream, so that's a town band concert up there on the green.
Yeah.
How much is that?
$123 this year.
And
But I
I'm with you, John.
do other town departments make donations to nonprofits?
We're a commission. Why are we spending the town's money?
For particular
They already
organizations?
get,
Right.
They already get their share from
right,
the town.
it's just reapportioning who's getting credit. Yeah.
I see the Connecticut
I see
Trust
your
and the
point.
National Trust.
How much are those two?
We usually give 75 to the National Trust and 115 to the Connecticut Trust. And they're always begging us for more money, of course.
Well, if we had 500, then do the Old Lyme Historical Society come in every year and ask us for money? Or is it just now routine?
No, we're just one of their supporters.
For the calendar.
For the, because we're a historic preservation.
Yeah, I guess the case would be that both the museum houses the Lyme Historical Society archives, which are very extensive.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's probably more, I would guess there's a lot more than the Old Lyme Historical Society has, and then they have their archives. So I see that connection to what we do. Well,
it's advertising too. To me, the calendar would be more under advertising than
right.
a donation.
And I think the thought, when they started having the town band concert, and we were encouraged to sponsor it, it was kind of like, oh, the Historic District Commission can do something that makes people happy, you know, instead of being this sort of
Onerous.
view of us being kind of an authoritarian kind of commission saying, no, you can't do this.
Right, goodwill.
Kind of a marketing.
A goodwill.
It's goodwill.
Okay, we seem to be way under budget in other categories, though. I mean, why is HDC advertising so low through almost 11/12 of the year?
Yeah, well, it's the fiscal year.
Ah, of course. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It costs us about an average of $190 per meeting to
Okay.
Legal notices.
legal notices.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
11.
Yeah.
Which, how many people read those? But they're legally required.
We have to do it,
You have to do it, yeah.
And we've had a lot because of all of our,
So, you know, that might decrease a little bit, but there's not much difference between, I think the highest one that we had was $268 as opposed to $162 for this month, which was just one.
Right. I wonder, one of the things that was, I think Eric Knapp suggested, is something we could investigate about how do you further the goal of compliance, is to prepare something for the land records. Now, this is very delicate because there are states, as I understand it, there are state statutes that actually impose penalties for putting stuff in the land records that would encumber a title. But Eric made the comment that he thought it might be possible to have a document that lists by address all the properties in the district, so that they would turn up in a search, and then the document says, essentially, these are the properties in the district. I guess you'd have to look up the current owners of them, so it could be indexed, and all properties in the district may be subject to certificates of incorporation. For information, see our website where you can look it all up, right? By property.
So when somebody's purchasing, the purpose of that is when somebody purchases a property, they're clear that they're purchasing something in the district. Yeah.
Sagrestano, I understand, it might be an example of somebody who is trying to sell property,
right,
and
is lacking some permits.
You know, I would love to have the money to ask an attorney what could be done and what format it would need to take. And $500 gets you, that's nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But if Eric Knapp suggested it, do you think Eric Knapp would have any interest in
No.
engaging in this?
He's not doing our work for us. And I'm not sure he knows, it might take research on his part. I'm not sure he knows exactly what the parameters of what would be legally permissible would be. So, maybe you want to leave it at 500, and if we decide to proceed, we can. I know you can make a one-time request for additional funds. We could do it that way, but $500 again is just. I guess you could ask a really quick question and
Point
get an
out, though,
answer.
that we've generated $785.
Oh, just put that in. Say,
That's right.
credit
Our
Part of us.
our fees and deduct it.
You should ask
No, I just put it in and then see what they say.
I've been keeping a little bit of a mental tally of it, but it's, you know, it's not insignificant, the numbers of COFAs that we've processed.
That's right.
Well, when you have 31
Yeah.
in one fiscal year.
Absolutely. And now we established we're not getting a piece of that.
John, one question I have, if there were to ever be a legal challenge to something that the commission has ruled upon, does that come out of the commission's legal fee, or is
Town.
to
It would
address?
have to be the town.
Or the
I mean,
town
we don't-
address
we- You know, again, we just don't
Right.
have the money.
Well, that's what, yeah,
But we are a town entity, and I mean, the town would have two options, I would think. One is they can ignore it, in which case they lose,
right,
or we lose, or
Right.
they can defend it.
right, got it. So our legal work is only the investigative kind of things that you're talking about here, or to advance
Well,
the district?
what have we asked them in the past?
Yeah.
What's our jurisdiction over signs, which was
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
revealing,
Yeah.
because it is broader than we thought it was, and includes advertising signs that don't even have to be attached to the ground. And
Yep.
advertising is defined broadly. And the other question was about
The
map
boundaries.
and the boundaries.
So it's very important, right?
Yep. So,
I wonder what the zoning budget is for legal, just have no idea. Interesting to know. Okay.
do we want to find out?
I'm sure we could find out.
I might have it here. I can look at my downloads. Because they sent us a whole complicated thing with with everything for all the entities. Find it here.
Our short meeting.
We don't have to take up all of the new and ongoing.
I mean, they sent me a spreadsheet of everything. Town clerk, treasurer, tax collector, everybody. Building, health, town. They have legal planning, they have legal zoning, they have legal CPA. And their budgets for those are like $9,000.
Right. So,
Yeah. And, you know, when they gave us that legal, when we went and asked for money to pay the legal bills for the sign things, we didn't, up until that point, we didn't have a line item for legal.
Right.
So they gave us the line item for they gave us the money we asked for, and then they put in the line item for legal, and they're funding it with a token amount. And then if we need more than that, which if we ever did anything more with legal expenses, we would need more than 500. That's
All right.
really just a placeholder.
So leave it there. The question is whether we go up to 800 to accommodate these donations we're making.
Right.
It's really the only question I see.
You know, in the past, we've just kind of taken whatever extra money we didn't have from another category.
Right.
But, you know, if we know that we're doing this, we should just say, this is what we do, and this is what it is, and, you know, you could do it either way,
How long have we been doing these things?
like 10 years. A long time. Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, I feel like probably goodwill. But
I do too. I agree with John's point in principle.
that it should be a historic-oriented entity that we're supporting. And these all fall into that, correct?
When you get up to $800, do they ever ask you what's included under other miscellaneous?
Yeah, I put that note on there.
At the bottom.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just
Yeah,
missed that.
I put that note
Okay.
on there as to exactly what it is. They asked for some kind of explanation, so I would put that in there.
Right.
So it's the Historic Society also in there?
OLHS.
Well, they're
And the
there.
calendar, so it's the donation.
They're three, because they put on the ice cream social.
Oh, so they're getting,
Lots of money.
So was that all considered at a time when they were getting off the ground?
I think so. I think somebody thought it would be nice to have a town band concert.
No, but I mean, are these,
The-
our contributions, were they made at a time when people were trying to support the Historical Society? When it was newish, because it hasn't been around that long.
Right. Possibly.
I guess I'm wondering if,
One donation.
Right, one
Similar
donation
to
would
the
be-
Florence Griswold.
would be,
I agree with that,
You know,
yes.
that
We
makes
shouldn't be
sense.
supporting one particular event necessarily. I mean, if we're gonna do the calendar, then it's an advertising. Like if we want to be in the Old Historic,
right, the calendar. Is that
Calendar?
288 for the calendar? That was what we.
it seems like to me that's an advertising thing.
and the ice cream social also strikes me as not really historical,
Right.
right? So,
Well, no, it takes place on the green.
It's just
That's-
a friendly town.
So then, what do they get, right after Flow Grizz, you have the Historical Society, do they get like a flat rate in addition to the ice cream and the calendar? Do they get a flat rate?
yes.
Yes.
What was that?
They,
$100? Where it says after Florence Griswold Museum.
OLHSI.
they get $100.
Yeah.
Flo Grizz and Historical Society
Get 100 each?
And the National Trust and the
So
Connecticut.
they're getting over 500, they're getting $600,
That's
right?
much.
For the ice cream and
That's
the
too much.
calendar?
Yeah,
Too
well,
much.
they pay for the ice cream, they pay something for the town, to the town band. So they're not making any money off that, they're a sponsor and they're getting other people to sponsor it to defray their costs.
So is there signage for us? Because people get this commission and then confused.
All the time. Yeah.
People
I guess,
think that.
I guess I would be inclined to consider taking out ice cream social, consider when this comes up next year whether we want to go up to 125 for OLHSI and maybe the museum. I mean, there has been significant inflation over 10 years. And just tell OLHSI that here's your donation and you may want to use it for the ice cream social or for other purposes.
And then what I would suggest is if we want to do the calendar, that we move that to an advertising budget,
Right.
right? In other words,
Right.
we're doing an equal donation to to the historic organizations in town, but that you move this to an advertising budget and then not do the ice cream social.
Right.
If they want to use it for that, they can.
Although, do they read advertising as just legal advertising in terms of,
That's functionally all we
We've
do.
used it in the past, but there's nothing.
Okay. I like Russ's idea, so let's, National Trust gets how much?
75.
5.
So that's 465 plus, let's say we did 465, 665. So I think if we did 700 for other and miscellaneous and take out ice cream social. Oh, and I'm sorry, 700. Keep that at
How much is flow again?
100 now, but I'm saying if that went up to 125, that would be 250 for museum and OLHSI, 325 for National Trust, and 400, let's say, Connecticut Trust is 250.
So that comes out to 415. If we get rid of, cross off the ice cream social.
No, it's more than that. If you went up to 125 for the museum and OLHSI, that's 250. National Trust makes it 325, and the Connecticut Trust makes it 615. Let's say 625. And so I would put advertising up to add $300 to advertising
And that's discretionary. In other words, we may or may not do the calendar later on.
Right.
Right.
So you want to add 300 to advertising and keep the other miscellaneous at 500?
No, because, I mean, I think it should encompass what we would spend.
Yeah.
Right now, we're at 200 for the first two, 275. Connecticut Trust is 390, or is that the sum of all of them?
Trust,
115.
that's the sum of all.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep it at 500.
15.
Let's keep
that
it at 500,
raise the advertising budget.
and I would say, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So what have we done? Added 300 to the advertising?
Yep.
And
We're deleting ice cream social and calendar sponsor, and actually, if we added 20, I mean, to have a cushion, you probably could reduce the other miscellaneous to 450. And if you added $50, which we may or may not decide to do, but then the total would be 440 down in your note.
so in terms of the Old Lyme Historical Society, we're increasing them to 125, and we're deleting ice cream
okay.
social. I mean, I'm just trying to understand. We're deleting that, and we're moving our calendar sponsorship to advertising a line item.
And we may want to move the museum to 125 if we're giving.
Right, no, I have that too. I was just asking about the Historical Society.
So it's 250 plus whatever the National Trust and Connecticut Trust is.
Yeah.
No.
That's 75 and 115. So
325,
440.
115, 440, so just call it 450. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the budget as modified?
I make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Deanie seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. As usual, we have little time for new and ongoing business. Let me just run through this. Signage policy, Deanie and I will work towards something to have for January. I think the issue of the highway off-ramp is a big enough issue that deserves a separate heading, and I'm not proposing to do that right now. If anybody's really interested in any of these issues,
Where do you see highway off-ramp?
I don't, it's under signage.
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm saying,
Oh,
I
right,
think it
okay.
should be split off into a
Okay,
separate.
Carolyn's interested in that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is, John, remember, there is the historic district sign that is across at the blinking light on 156, going left. So there is that sign, like a regular highway sign, but right on the Lieutenant River.
It's just a little sign.
It's like
It
a,
sits there, it says Historic District.
No, I'm talking about getting
A
rid of
wayfinder.
the
He's
clutter.
talking about the proliferation of highway signs.
right, oh, okay.
At the intersection, yeah.
So we should talk about that. Carolyn's quite interested in that,
Okay.
so.
Lighting policy, now that you've conquered the
I'm looking at
the
that.
map, you're looking at that.
I'm looking at
Okay,
that, yeah.
Okay, good. I think we really need to push to get some more alternates on. First of the year would be great.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention names of,
Yeah, I did write them down.
here, I mean, that's what I had.
Oh, this is from our meeting? Nina Peck, Jane Montanaro, who is someone, she works for the CT Trust, and Carolyn knows her. You suggested
Marie Ryan.
Marie Ryan, and then there was this Ed Pinn, who's somebody else that Carolyn has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ed Pinn. She's been recommending him. and
That was
he's
the,
happy.
that was the guest,
Ed Penn?
yeah, who was in the audience, along with Nina.
Okay.
So in terms of continued things for
Oh,
our
and
next,
then also, who,
Nina Peck.
yeah,
What? I did say that.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about the guests, who was from the,
Oh, Nell Twining.
Nell,
Yeah.
She, by the way, as an architect and being on she has
Yonkers,
experience on
Yonkers.
a landmark commission. I don't know if she would be interested on.
Nell.
Now, yeah.
Nell. Right. So that's another.
She has a background,
Right.
her background's clear.
how should we proceed with this?
Yeah.
Because
How should we? How have you how have you done this in the past, Martha? Like, what's the process for deciding on who to ask as alternates? Just to informally decide amongst ourselves, or?
We find out if anybody's interested, and if they're interested, we encourage them to fill out an application. And then they get appointed by the board.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes I think it's been most effective when we've identified people who have a real interest and asked them directly. I mean, that's how Carolyn came on, that's how you came on. So we now have 5 names, right?
3 alternate spots open? Is that right?
Two.
Or 2? Oh, okay.
Because Tammy's got one of the slots. So we've got 5 names, we've got 2 slots. How do we want to, I don't know these, I know Ed Penn, but...
I talked to Nina Peck informally because she used to be on the commission, and she's dialed back her architecture practice just a little, I mean, to the extent that she's working here now, not all over the state. And she said she might be interested, but I mean, that would, I'd have to go back to her and say, are you or aren't you? I think Nell Twining is pretty wrapped up in the Audubon, but I shouldn't be the one to make that decision.
Does she live in town?
She does. She lives on Sill Lane. Wouldn't see the house. It's on the left. There's a little sign that says Riverbank, and it's a driveway that's down on the river. She's pretty.
Has she served on the commission before, or any of the?
Not to my knowledge. They used to live more in Bronxville. Now they're here full time.
We should probably hear from Carolyn, who's been in touch with Ed. I mean, he's officer of the Cemetery Association, so he's got a strong interest in history. By profession, he's a dentist rather than an architect or construction person, but I don't know whether she, I mean, it's sort of awkward if she's had conversations with him about coming on and we picked two other names.
Right.
I think we safely could pick one other name and then check with Carolyn.
Carolyn has put forward Jane Montanaro and Ed Pinn.
What's Jane's background?
Jane works for the Connecticut Trust. So she's right in it, you know, but she lives here in town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think I've met her, but
I think I know her.
I don't think I have a strong sense of exactly. But, so maybe we should ask Carolyn how committed,
Right.
how much she,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
how far along
find
she's
out
come in
whether
that
he's
conversation.
at all interested in
Right.
the issues or not. He may
Make
say,
those the top candidates and see if they're interested and then go, you know, go down the line.
But I really think it would be a good idea to not let this, move this to the front burner.
I agree.
Yep.
All right, I'll double check with Carolyn. I mean, if she says both Jane and Ed are really interested, what do I say? Would you prefer Nina Heck as a member to one of them?
I just think it's important that we get some sort of commitment from them to trying to attend these meetings.
Yes.
You know, I think that should be a baseline. I mean, everyone has things that happen in their lives, so obviously. But I don't know whether Jane Montanaro commutes to Hamden every day, for example, where the Connecticut Trust is. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But if she has a
day job.
a full-time job, you know, that,
Attendance is.
And what's
I think so.
What's Ryan's background?
I just know her, and I was just thinking of somebody who I know that is home and lives she lives on Bittersweet. So I know that she's very involved with the Children's Center.
Right, but she's not specifically
Exactly.
focused
she's not.
on these kinds of issues.
Right, exactly.
I've shared with Deanie that I think it's very helpful to have somebody with kind of a design or architectural background, that the committee would be well served with somebody that
I think so too.
has that experience.
Sure.
I mean, that suggests, I'm just leaving Nell Twining off because I sense that she's
Pretty involved with
Yeah.
the project.
involved elsewhere. I mean, that seems to move Nina and Jane up to the first ask category, but I do want to ask Carolyn
Yeah.
about
I
think
agree
you
with
should.
that.
I think you should. Ask Carolyn
I
about
mean, he was the first name that
First
came
name.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, good. Deanie and I will try to develop, unless there are objections, a list of enforcement concerns in the district that we can just pass along to Eric Knapp so that they're on his radar.
And I think we can make that a sort of an ongoing list and things that, I mean, we constantly have concerns about things that we're not sure whether we really have any jurisdiction over, such as the ice cream shop and such as Nightingale's, because this sort of, some of it goes, you know, there are benches on the sidewalks. I mean, we know we have no say over what kind of benches they put out, but maybe zoning has some say over where those benches are placed, if they're in the egress. So some of these things we would benefit by Eric Knapp
Yes.
weigh in on. It might help everyone.
Another nice project for someone would be, we could have a little historic district corner in every issue of Old Lyme events, highlighting.
Nice idea.
Isn't that a great
I ran across actually an old issue that my parents, I think, and it's still going through old papers, had saved. Just talking about the plaque program. You could have that. You could say, for the town, so that they know that we sent out a community letter. When we get a signage policy, say,
Here's the link.
We've been concerned, here's the link. This is what we've developed for guidelines.
I think it's a great idea, John.
And just to get information out there.
Yeah.
Just to be there.
So who wants to do that?
I'll do that because I will confer with Ellen Cole, who does things for Christ the King for the event, so I will tag with her.
Oh, that would be
And she's
terrific.
an editor
Good writer.
for Yale Magazine, so I
I
sometimes
mean,
run things by her.
we'll be generous in sharing our ideas about possible stuff. But I'm just thinking of
Sure,
short little
paragraphs.
paragraphs, but almost have something each issue, because then our name's out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it to the front.
It's very community building too. You know,
Okay.
it's good.
Great.
I got this from my friend who is a member of the Historical Society, and I thought it was really kind of nice, like their cards,
Ooh,
but it
I think
just
I've
shows the whole
seen that.
district.
That's cool.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Is it a holiday card?
It's a thank you. It's used as a thank you card. It's just blank inside. But I just thought it was nice
Now we're
with the
taking
math
away
and all
their
that.
funding. I mean,
What was
I said we're taking away their funding.
They have, I think they get it elsewhere, but I thought it was really nice.
It's very nice. It's
Ooh.
really nice. That's with
and look
Edie's
at all
map
these
that she
buildings
did. That's what's on the
around
piece.
the edges.
Which I do have.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just thought it was really nice. I'm like, oh, that's us. But
Oh, wow.
it's almost like we should have things like that.
Yeah.
But,
Could
and
send
we're,
cheerful postcards to everyone whose COFAs we've
I know, should we put, denied, change.
Okay, last
Brought forward.
item to mention. Just a reminder to Russ that on the HDC map to fix the boundary of the
Museum.
museum.
So I'd like to,
If you go back to the original 1970 map
right,
that shows,
and that's an accurate line on that map? That's what we
have used.
got it, all right, so.
I mean, that's the.
Yeah, we'll have to go back
official
to,
line.
we'll have to go back to Map Geo on that. And, in other words, you and I probably need to determine or draw that line or figure out how to draw that line to give to them to make that
Okay.
accurately located.
Is
Yeah.
that a legal process?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just,
I mean, the basic message from the attorney is we're bound by the 1970 lines. And in 1970, the Huntley Brown wedge of land, which at the time didn't even have a house on it, was not not right on Lime Street. It was, if you will, landlocked. And so it didn't show up in the historic district.
yeah, it would be good to draft that line, have you look at it, I can draft it, and so that when we send it to them,
They just take it.
take it and go with it, yeah.
Nice.
The last thing, I don't know if it's an agenda, it's not even a new item or agenda, but I've just heard recent rumblings about trains and highway
Oh, yeah.
studies, and
You mentioned that.
yeah, I just think it's important that our work here is important for the town relative to those studies. And I don't know if there's any active thing that we'll need to do or could do to help, but we should all be aware of what's being discussed.
I was advised that it would be helpful to get something on the record, i.e. write a letter to the FRA, to the same people, because they are the same people. They're precisely the same people.
Same people, right?
Just to alert everyone that still paying attention and still opposed, and
Has anything been published?
just having those things.
What has been published? Has there been an announcement from the FRA that this is back on the agenda?
There's been a list of, the way I've read it, there's a list of projects that are active, such as things like replacing the bridge, right?
Right.
And then there is an area proposed for study of the transit,
Bypass.
not necessarily the bypass, but the distribution of transit between, I want to say New Haven and Providence. So in other words, the circle that you see drawn includes Hartford, but it also includes the shoreline, right? So, and in essence, and there have been people, again, I'm reading this in the press, that there's been people that have said that perhaps the resolution to take the bypass off the table was premature and should be revisited. So
That decision was tabled with the last record of decision.
right.
It was, and it was
Was not-
left for study. And so now it's come back.
As a study.
So it wasn't decided in 2017.
Right.
But now it's back as an option again. And there's some strong support for it.
From?
I think Chris Murphy supports it.
That's right.
Really?
Yes.
So,
Oh,
that's
right,
that. I mean, we
right.
saw how powerful Blumenthal's support was to oppose it.
Right.
I mean, that's powerful support. I've never experienced sort of power like that. I mean, just seeing what, a senator. And I think that when Blumenthal stepped in to help this situation, it made a tremendous difference to the outcome.
Well,
So we have the same kind of level.
If it's indeed a study, one would assume that there would be a public process. And if there's a public process, then that would be the time for the commission to submit a statement, it seems to me, Deanie. I don't know, again, I don't know, there's not enough information
Right.
it's been publicly indicated that I've seen to say, yes, we should be writing a letter right now.
Right.
Or we should be doing something right now. But it just seems to me that we should be aware of that.
Right, and I think we have a strong advocate. It was the Connecticut Examiner, having been so engaged in the process the last time. I think we'll probably be alerted to the timing on those things. I mean,
Well, the
I don't
FRA
think
should
that-
reach out to the towns. That's one of the things is not to the commission, but to the town of Vermont.
okay.
So,
It's on
That's
our radar.
yep.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion to
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. How do you sign off here?